I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we are finishing our discussion of Crescent City Book 2, House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Today, we are discussing Part 3, The Pit, chapters 48 through 78, and also the epilogue.
That was Whitney's nickname in high school.
This podcast is very spoiler heavy across all of Sarah J. Maas's books and series, except for Crescent City Book 3, House of Flame and Shadow, which we will start discussing in a couple of weeks. Once again, thank you to Reviews from a Bookworm for your amazing summaries of both Crescent City 1 and Crescent City 2. Please go check out and support Reviews from a Bookworm if you need a refresher on either of those books or other SJM books. Deborah, will you please... You like how I did that, Deborah?
Whitney!
Will you please tell us about our nerdiest cocktail?
I don't know if I can now. So tonight's drink was created by Mindy. It's called The Crossover, and it's themed after Sarah J. Maas's multiverse. Spoiler alert. Yeah. It pairs well with alternate dimensions, mind-blowing revelations, and unhinged theories. And it may cause you to scream, "Oh my fucking God!" and throw your book.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's a gin cocktail, and if you listen to Tuesday's episode, you know it will fuck you up. So just be a little bit careful as you are doing that. And back to you, Whitney.
Thanks, Deb. Now we're going to throw it to Mindy for our nerdiest vocabulary.
Mindy, can you do the weather? 75
Today's
and sunny.
vocabulary is high of 75 with partly cloudy.
With Deborah's wet underwear. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry,
That took a turn.
we always talk about sexy scenes. Sorry.
Oh, my
She meant
goodness.
sweaty.
I don't have swamp ass.
Anyway. Mindy, help us.
Oh, my goodness. So, today's...
Do you have something you want to say? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know if I can. Today's nerdiest vocabulary is brought to you by Ariadne.
So the deodorant that stays with you for 5 days.
So Ariadne is the dragon that gets released from the rings from the astronomer. And in this section, Jessica says, "Is that what she calls herself?" Fascinating. Which I thought was, question mark.
I didn't
I know.
catch that.
Yeah, I thought that was something.
So Jessica might know she is actually named something else.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
So that made me want to do a little etymology and dig in. So in Greek, specifically in the Cretan dialect, which is from Crete, not like
a derogatory term.
yes, it translates to most holy. So that could be
Interesting.
some way it's going. And then in Greek mythology, her character, she was the daughter of Minos, the king of Crete, and Queen Pasiphae, who coincidentally was the daughter of Helios, the god who personifies the sun. Sounds like Helion to me, but whatever.
Right, yeah.
So she is most known for helping this dude named Theseus and several children kill the Minotaur in the labyrinth and escape the labyrinth. Mm-hmm. She gives them a ball of string and tells them to go there, kill the Minotaur, and then come out and follow
in
string
the
back.
Scarlet St. Clair book that just came out, she helps in the labyrinth too. Ariadne does.
Yep.
I didn't catch that.
Interesting.
Yep.
So she was also married to the Greek god Dionysus, and Dionysus is the god of wine and festivity. So thinking about our characters and our boys that are around Ariadne quite a bit, could she and Flynn end up together?
There seems to be something there.
There
for
seems
sure.
to be a little something there, and he's definitely a bacchanalian.
I am very curious about Ariadne though, because it feels like she has a completely different end game than everyone else does.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's definitely
She's a
very
loose cannon.
Yes.
Well, one thing I thought of when you said most holy, they say at one point in the books, because I remember having questions about this. They say that dragon fire can fight against the princes of hell.
Yes.
So I wonder if that's where SJM was making that connection with that power.
That was one of my questions. I was like, why was that in there? Why was that one sentence in there about dragon fire?
Well, because I remember I wrote down, why wouldn't the Asteri be after her from the astronomer if it would be protection for them against the prince? You know what I mean?
The Asteri have no fucking idea what's going on.
Well, and also the astronomer said that he was gifted her by an archangel,
yeah.
and they never say which archangel. That was one of my questions. Like,
yes, me too.
Which archangel gifted
and
her?
What
to him?
circumstances?
Well, maybe she was gifted so he would lock her up.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. Maybe.
Also, we don't know who the astronomer really is, right? It's always just the astronomer.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it could be someone that, like, their identity's not been clarified yet.
True.
Yeah.
Although they seem like a horrible person.
Yes, they do. I think I'd like it if they were just gone.
Give them a little Rochambeau, a little kick in the nuts. Carry on.
So yes, that's all about Ariadne.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mindy.
And
Thanks,
back
Mindy.
to you, Whitney.
Oh man, that just reminds me of the show The Soup.
Oh, I love the
that
soup
stuff.
with Joel McHale.
This clip they showed all the time from the Today Show. Good morning to everybody in the news this morning. Good morning. It was, I can't remember who it was on the Today Show that did that, but anyway, I think about that a lot.
I think it was Hoda.
I don't remember. It might have been before Hoda's time, but anyway, good morning. I've been thinking that the whole time. So now it's time for our final Whitney's Nerdy and Dirty recap, which, guys, I'm honestly going to miss making these.
We'll see you in 30 minutes because a lot happened. Happened in this book. I mean, so much. So I'm so excited you're going to do this because
I hope it's helpful.
Oh, good Lord.
I do want to remind our listeners, though, because I think it's been a few episodes since I have said this. I don't mention every important thing. I'm mentioning the important things you need moving into book 3. So
my favorite thing to say is don't come at us.
No. Well,
Get your own podcast.
No.
But we're so happy you're here. Thank you.
I'm too nice. I'm too nice to come at me.
Seriously, you've heard how many times she cries over books. Don't make her,
a lot of feelings.
Don't make her cry over a recap, guys.
I will say I am going to be going back to a lot of my notes from book 1 and book 2 as we talk about book 3. So some things that
I'm shocked.
I know, right? Some things that I've not mentioned yet will probably get mentioned eventually, right?
And if they don't, that's okay.
Yeah,
because
there's too much.
You could read verbatim the whole book in your recap and still leave stuff out.
So, to start everything off, we do finally get a final answer to the mystery of Sophie's younger brother, Emil. So first of all, he does not have any powers. Sophie told everybody that he was a Thunderbird like her because she didn't trust Ophion or the Vanir in general to actually give a crap about a powerless human boy, which is tough but fair because they didn't. I felt very vindicated by this reveal, actually, that he was powerless, because at the very beginning of this book, I was very confused about the prologue because it seemed clear to me that Sophie took out the Omega boats with her power, but then Cormac says that Emil was the one that did it. And so I thought that I just misunderstood, but I was right. So congratulations to me on having good reading comprehension.
I don't understand that. Can you?
What do you mean?
So did Emil take him out or not?
No, because he doesn't have any power.
So Cormac was covering for Sophie, or
no?
what?
He thought that Emil was also a Thunderbird.
But Sophie actually took out
Sophie. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sophie actually did it, but Cormac thought that it was Emil. So anyway, Bryce figured out Emil was probably powerless based on vibes. I don't understand how she came to that conclusion, but she did it. So she was correct either way. Bryce secretly asked the Viper Queen to help her find Emil and then hide him in the meat market. And Bryce does not tell anyone that she has done this until she's ready to pick him up and send him off. So she's actually been communicating in code with her parents, Ember and Randall, via postcards and a secret code Randall taught her in case of an emergency. So way to go, Randall. Emil is being sent to live with Ember and Randall as their new adopted son, Cooper, and is part of the Quinlan Salago family. Hunt is very proud of Bryce for taking care of this human boy in the right way, making sure that he's safe and loved. But he's still pretty upset that she did not share this with him until it was already done. Hunt thought that they were a team, but this seems to show him that they're clearly not, which is a theme we need to keep in mind as we move into book 3. So that's the end of the Emil and Sophie mystery, except for the part where Sophie was in cahoots with Danica. But before we talk about that,
I love the word cahoots.
Thank you so much. I was really proud of that. Before we talk about Sophie being in cahoots with Danica, we do need to wrap up one more conflict in this story, Bryce being engaged to Cormac. That is still a thing, y'all. So for a minute, it looks like she's stuck in this engagement because the Autumn King finds out Bryce has been using his name and her royal title as his daughter to get stuff done. So the Autumn King files legal papers to change her name and makes his power over her official. But, of course, our girl Bryce has a plan. At the autumn equinox ball to celebrate Celestina and Ephraim's mating, Bryce shows up with Cormac and Hunt, books it straight to the archangels, bypasses her father, introduces Hunt as her mate, and gets Celestina to officially and formally acknowledge and bless their mating bond. And the Asteri actually do the same thing later in the party.
You crazy, Bryce.
So with this power play, publicly having the most powerful people acknowledge her mating bond and not her engagement to Cormac, she basically just tied herself to Hunt, and nobody can do anything about it. Yes, girl. This also makes Hunt an official prince, which everyone finds hilarious. We also get a big reveal at the same party that Celestina is actually in a relationship with Hypaxia, Rune's arranged
They've been
fiancé.
doing it in the closet.
They cannot be together because of her mating with Ephraim, but they are together. Bryce and Hunt actually walk in on them, getting busy. Boobies are out and everything.
Reading that and being like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was like, I forgot about that.
Like, this is a sapphic romance? Score.
Right. So for like 2 sentences. That's like all we get, right? So this actually comes back to bite them in the butt because Celestina ends up betraying Bryce and Hunt to try to protect herself and Hypaxia, which ends up just being bad times for everybody. So our crew is still working with Ophion and trying to figure out what Sophie and Danica have to do with each other. There's a lot of drama and run-ins with Lydia and her team of goons, but here are the most important reveals from our adventures here. Baxian is Danica's mate. They met. They knew they were mates. They were secretly together for 2 years before she died. And that's why Baxian has been so helpful to Bryce and Hunt. This was Danica's family. And Baxian wants to not only honor his mate by taking care of her sister, but he also wants to honor her by continuing her work for a better world. And I really love Baxian. I think he's a great character. Sidebar for Ethan. This doesn't really fit anywhere, but I didn't want to talk about it at the end. But this is what happens in the epilogue. He actually ends up kidnapping the alpha wolf from the astronomer's I wrote palace, but I think I meant to say place. So he can try and have an option to get rid of Sabine because this mysterious alpha wolf is another Fendir heir. So just, hey, that happens. Keep it in mind in book 3. So let's go back to our rebel friends. So we end up with almost everybody going to the Asteri's palace to go down to the archives. Baxian reveals that the numbers on Sophie's body is actually a room number in the Asteri archives. Baxian saw Sandriel get taken to this room and then absolutely freak out after whatever happened inside that room with the Asteri. He mentioned it to Danica. Danica thought it would be important for the research that she has been doing on trying to find out where the shifters came from and where the Fae came from. So that's why Danica ended up contacting Sophie to go to that room to find out whatever it was. It took Sophie 3 years of undercover work to get in that room, and she kind of freaked out afterwards, just like Sandriel did. So Bryce, Hunt, Therian, Rune, and Cormac go on a 2-part mission. Rune, Hunt, and Bryce are going to find out what's in that room and try to save Agent Daybright, who Rune thinks is being held and tortured by the Asteri. Cormac and Therian are going to a nearby lab to destroy Asteri mech suits try to trap Ophion as well to distract the Asteri from what Bryce is doing. So this is where it all really hits the fan. Cormac and Therian are successful in blowing up the lab and the mech suits. They draw out 5 of the 6 Asteri away from the palace. But Cormac is actually on a suicide mission. He is willing...
Don't do it, Cormac.
I know, right?
No.
He is willing to sacrifice himself to make sure that this is a success. He says there's no better cause to yield his life to, and his love is dead. So I guess he's lost the will to live and fight another day. Therian is able to escape, and Therian has defected from the River Queen and pledged loyalty to the Viper Queen.
You know what? Not his smartest move.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, that one.
Keep that in mind going into book 3. Meanwhile, Bryce finds out that the super secret, super special room reveals that the Asteri are feeding off of First Light and Second Light. They are literally being fed through their crystal thrones. That is where their power comes from. Everyone giving drops of power, everyone dying and becoming Second Light. They are keeping the Asteri powerful and therefore in power. Bryce also finds a room called Dusk that the Asteri are actually intergalactic creatures. They have been traveling from world to world, traveling through time and space to different dimensions, finding worlds that they want. They go in, they trick the people that live there, they take over, they consume their power and magic. They either stay forever, like on Midgard, or then they destroy the whole thing and move on to a different planet. They've been doing this for millennia, and they are keeping notes on all the worlds that they've been to, and that's what this Dusk room is. Hell is actually a world that
Also,
they tried to take over.
Could they be more stupid? Let's keep track of this.
I mean, they'd forget because they do it so much.
Oh,
They
that's
need
true.
to keep track for themselves because when they move on, they need to know where to not go, right? So they tried to take over Hell, which is actually a different world and not hell, like an afterlife like we would think of it.
Mm-hmm.
They failed to take over Hell. The princes fought back against them. And now they're sending demons into Midgard because they want to get rid of the Asteri from everywhere, not because the princes are evil beings. The Asteri are the evil beings, right? So,
Which is such a mind fuck for me that you're saying these people are from hell and they may not be the bad guys.
I know.
right. Well, for Bryce as well, right?
Well,
Yeah.
but like in our whole Christianity religion that, you know, all
Right.
3 of us have been raised in, I'm like, but wait, that's where the devil is.
Right.
Yeah.
So earlier I mentioned Celestina betrayed our crew. She told the Asteri that they were coming. So, like, thanks a lot, Celestina.
That's not nice.
Regulus. How do you say it again?
Regulus.
Regulus is there and waiting for Bryce. He has a wonderful Bond villain moment that Bryce actually calls out that made me laugh, where he explains everything,
Yeah.
just like Micah did in book 1. Regulus has actually been aware of Danica and Sophie and what they've been doing basically from the beginning. He knew that Danica was looking into the Asteri, so he manipulated Micah into doing everything that happened in book 1 so that Danica would die. So book 1 is because of the Asteri, not because of Micah. That's a huge reveal. He sent the Hind for Sophie so that Sophie would die. He pretended to be Adis earlier in this book, so Bryce would work on her power.
That one.
Okay,
fucked
so
me up,
has
too.
Adis been to see her at all in her apartment?
In book 1.
But not like
Not in book
when
2.
Ethan is holding the cat. It's
That
Regulus?
is Regulus.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah. So he pretended to be Adis so that she would work on her power so that Regulus could see how powerful she actually is. He sent the Reapers to get Hunt and Bryce to the Bone Quarter so that they would figure out Hunt's power can level Bryce up and to see if she is strong enough for Bryce to be able to use her power to open up a portal, because Regulus wants to use Bryce and the horn in her back to open the portal to whatever world they were in before Midgard. He says it has good magic and he just wants it. And Bryce is going to be his way to get back there. Hunt, Rune, and Bryce are captured, surrounded, and totally effed. But wait! Agent Daybright is actually there, but not confined and being tortured like Rune thought. She's actually Lydia fucking Servos.
What?
Dun, dun, dun. The Hind herself. She is a double agent who actually works for the rebels, but has to keep her position because she's the reason the rebels have any good intel at all. She has to remain in her position and is not willing to out herself, but she does try to help as best she can. She kills the Harpy, and she leaves Hunt and Bryce's shackles unlocked, which enables Bryce to run away from Regulus. Hunt is then able to level Bryce up with his lightning power, and she makes a portal to hell so she can get help and come back and defeat the Asteri for good. Baxian helps them in this and outs himself as a rebel sympathizer, so Rune, Hunt, and Baxian are locked up while Bryce disappears through the portal. Bryce lands in hell, but wait, it turns out to not be hell, but the greatest reveal of all time. She is in Valaris and meets our favorite High Lord, High Lady, and Inner Circle. And we end the last chapter with a sentence that gives me chills literally right this second, just thinking about it. Hello, Bryce Quinlan. My name is Rhysand.
What the fuck?
It does. I really do have chills right now.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Is that it?
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. And let's talk about it. Let's talk in a little bit more detail. This is a huge section. What was your all's favorite moment?
Oh, gosh.
I know.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
So the My Name is Rhysand is my favorite, absolute favorite moment, but then that felt like a gimme. So I also have the goodbyes between Bryce, Hunt, and Rune before she makes a run for it, where they all have, Rune is mind speaking to them and they're coming up with this plan. I just think that those goodbyes are so sweet and so heartbreaking because Hunt and Rune, at least, they truly believe they will not see her again.
Yeah.
And they all know what's about to happen. They know that they're about to be put in the dungeon and bad stuff is going to happen, right? They believe they're about to be killed and they're just accepting it. And they want Bryce to be able to go get help to beat the Asteri for a better world, not like to save them, And I just think it's so beautiful and I love it so much. Yeah, I love it so much. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Min.
Well, mine's not as deep. I don't know. I kept writing things down as I read and then went back and tried to pick the ones that I really enjoyed. But I think what I finally landed on, again, I didn't want to go with the obvious, huge crossover reveal. Yeah. But I actually really loved it when Hunt and Bryce catch Hypaxia and Celestina in the closet. Yeah. I think it's hilarious that they're going to get it on.
I was so shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was completely moment. Unexpected. And then the whole standoff where he's trying really hard not to blow up and
and so is Celestina.
Yeah, and then Hypaxia and Bryce, they're sitting there. I can just see them being like, okay, let's all calm down. Yeah. Settle down here. And
we're all friends.
That whole line of, trying to talk them down. I don't know. It was just really funny.
Well, and I don't know about you, but I'm picturing, because there's all these rumors that Celestina's already pregnant by Ephraim, right? And I'm picturing page 6 of look, she has a bump. I'm no, she had a cheeseburger. Right? Yeah. She's a lesbian. Christ. Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, though. It was a good way to introduce that. And we were talking last episode, which was our reading habits episode, about having these theories so then you get mad that they don't come true.
Right.
There's a lot of theories about Emery and Moore coming together. And I really hope we have some really good sapphic romance in some of these books because she brings it up all the time. But I'm can we just actually see that romance? Because that would be kind of great.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not enough sapphic romance out there. A lot of good MM, though.
I honestly think a lot of heterosexual women feel like they're not going to do it justice.
Maybe.
That when they write it, that they're not.
She could just ask her husband what women like.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't know.
But I don't know. I feel like the things that women like are probably kind of different than what what a woman wants from another woman.
Yeah.
Might be a little different from what a man wants.
But how
from
can you write about MM if you're a woman, though?
I don't know.
Hasn't, but I'm saying a lot of women do. So then why?
Because I don't think the gay males are going to come at her.
Well, that's true. Yeah. But that's why I like reading MM is because the men are so uninhibited.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about it. So I think it's maybe easier to write than sapphic romance because women have a little bit of a higher expectation on like romance and everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a stereotype.
I don't know.
I mean, I agree. I think there needs to be more for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's probably not going to come from SJM though, because people come at her for everything.
Well, I hope she'll just write what she wants to write, though.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
We'll see.
my favorite moment was Emil getting adopted by the Quinlans. You brought that up.
Yeah.
And becoming Cooper. And I really love a found family trope. I feel like I live in a found family trope. Like I found my husband. His family's amazing. I have you two and like our book club people. So it really resonates with me. And we know that the Quinlans will protect him and just really treat him as their own. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that moves forward in book 3.
Yeah.
I loved the postcard aspect of that too. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I liked that. I thought that was a good idea. And it fits so well with the Randall being that like big military dude of like, well, yeah, of course he would teach her a secret code just in case, just in case you need it. Oh, Randall. What about least favorite moment?
Oh gosh, can I go?
Sure.
I just want to like get it off my chest. Hunt finding the 2 Orpheon soldiers blood-eagled
that was
terrifying.
That was rough.
So it depicts them as being opened at the rib cavity and that each bone is separated from the spine. Then that someone has reached through their back and yanked their lungs through, which leaves their bloody lungs on their backs as wings. Like that is such a terrifying visual.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to look further into this type of torture because usually SJM takes from like historical events. But according to the Smithsonian.com, this form of torture actually has been long contested as to if it actually happened to people during Viking times or if it was originally written as a literary device for a poem. So no one knows if this was actually a torture method or not.
I hope it was not.
I know.
Right. I hope it was
Absolutely.
just in a poem.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a small scene, but such a graphically violent scene. And she does such an amazing job making you picture what it looked like that it really stuck with me.
Well, and I like it too because it's showing you also the harpy specifically and how horrible she is.
Evil.
Yes. And
it makes you so much happier when she dies.
well, yeah, but also the hind is talked about as being so horrible, but we don't get those kinds of scenes.
She's never ripped someone's lungs out
Yes,
of them.
we get that from the harpy. We get stuff from Pollux to show how horrible they truly are, but we don't get that evidence about the hind, and we don't get that evidence about Baxian, which is just more of the like, there's more to them than meets the eye, which I didn't notice until reading it this time,
Right.
which I really appreciated. What was your least favorite moment?
Well,
Mindy?
that one actually made my top 10, but I'm telling you,
There's a lot that
there's
happens
so much
in
It
your
is
defense.
huge.
But
Yeah,
what
a
I
huge
ultimately ended on was I just really didn't like that Therian sold his soul to the Viper Queen. Like he didn't think through that at all. Like it was such a quick decision and a quick thing to happen. Like he knew before he broke it off with the River Queen's daughter that he was going to be toast, right?
Think of all of his actions. So he is so impulsive.
Yes,
I mean, he is, but good God, why didn't he make a plan about where to go beforehand? Like,
Before he
Therian's
did it.
single for a reason. Let's just say that out loud.
I don't know. It was also rushed, and like he does never seem that dumb before. Like I didn't consider him a meathead until this particular moment, and now I'm like, what the fuck have you done?
You know, I actually didn't feel as like you idiot this time reading it. And I wonder if it's because I was thinking, like, I remember thinking that he was such an idiot and I'm like looking for ways to redeem him a little bit. But it stood out to me more this time. His desire to be above the water, to have the freedom to be above the water, and the panic of she's going to keep me down there forever and I will never see the sun again. And I like got it a little bit
Here's
more.
what I
It
don't
was still
understand,
stupid,
though.
but I got it, you know?
But from a Mer's point of view, why would you not want to be in the water? It felt weird to me that like you wouldn't want to be down below as a creature of the water.
He just likes the above better.
He likes Bryce Quinlan is what he likes.
Well, legs.
Yeah.
Who could blame him, right?
I don't know. I guess I just thought he could have. like before he went to break it off with her
He
daughter.
should have thought about it.
He should have thought about it a little bit. He had plenty of time to think about it.
I totally agree with that.
I'm like, what? At least think about what you're going to do in that half hour you have. Like, he knew he only had a half hour.
It did very much seem like that was the first that he had considered.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Maybe he thought the daughter would take it better. Maybe. I don't know. But no, I totally agree with you.
Sure, you took her virginity and dragged her along for 12 years. She'll be fine with it.
She's been pining over you, very obviously.
No big deal,
right?
She's not dated anyone else that you know of, but she'll be fine.
Yeah, that was.
Girls really like it when you take their virginity and not call them back
and tell them that you'll love
Marry
them forever,
them.
And then ghost them the next day.
I've never been. That's such a guy thing. I've never been so horny to lie to someone, but I guess like I don't have to.
Me either.
Whitney, your silence is deafening.
There are lots of things Robbie doesn't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Not at all.
Well, I had two. One, well, okay. So the first one of my least favorite moment, the whole like meet me at midnight plan between Vroon and Agent Daybright, that was just a dumb plan. Like, it was just not smart.
Well, and he realizes it too later on.
Well, but I mean, he almost gets caught by the harpy after we've seen the Blood Eagle stuff, like after we know how horrible she is. And I'm just like, I get that you guys were all like horned up in your mind bridge, but like think about it. That was just not it was not a good idea, right? Anyway, because she at any point could have like taken the flames away from her because he takes the night off of his face, right? So like you guys could have done this like in private in the mind bridge, right? Yeah. Anyway, that just really bothered me. That was just a bad idea.
Been interesting, right?
No, 100% it wouldn't have been, but it was a dumb plan. But really, my least favorite moment is the epilogue, and not because of what happens in the epilogue, but because there is an epilogue, and that's what it was. Like the writing choice from SJM to have this huge reveal in the last chapter and have this huge, like, impactful moment.
That, quite frankly, didn't have much to do with the rest of the book.
It didn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Hello, my name is Rhysand.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, why have the epilogue? Why have that at all? That could have been in a different part of the book. That, like, I don't understand why there was an epilogue at all with the impact that reveal, my name is Rhysand. Like, why would you not end the book with that?
Sometimes I don't wonder, like, does their editor make them do it? Like, what is it?
I don't know.
It felt weird to me, too.
Because the epilogue, like, I just don't care. After you give me the reveal that she's in freaking Prithian and Valaris with the Night Court, I don't care about Ethan, the astronomer, the Alpha.
Fuck that
wolf.
guy.
Like, I don't care. Yeah. And it's so anticlimactic. Like, just no. I very much dislike that writing choice, generally speaking. I don't understand it at all. It made me really upset. Very obviously made me very upset. So anyway, bringing it back up. I am curious to hear of all the revelations in this last section of the book.
This is where
what was the best or the biggest?
Yeah, this is where I had trouble narrowing it down because obviously the ACOTAR crossover is the biggest revelation. But for me, it actually feels more like a plot device to move the story forward, right? For me, the biggest shock was actually reading Rigolus power level 65%. Learning that the first light and the second light are powering the Asturi, like, literally had me shook.
Yeah.
And learning that the place where the dead went before the Asteri arrived was peaceful is just awful. Because, they're going to the Bone Quarter. They're being housed there for hundreds of years before their second light's taken, right? On top of that, Bryce finds a list of the worlds that the Asteri have already conquered and moved on from because they keep destroying all of the resources like the dumbasses they are. They literally annihilate a planet by overusing it.
She calls them parasites.
Right, they're parasites.
100%.
And finally, we find out that Midgard was supposed to be a base to bring beings from other worlds all to one place. So I'm really curious as to if that is going to come into play in book 3 or not. Like, why didn't they end up bringing more people? What happened? Because I felt like they were using it as a, like, jumping off space. And then all of a sudden they can't. And there's a lot of things in this book where I'm like, they're supposed to be so powerful. They could have killed Bryce a long time ago. They could have killed Hunt a long time ago. They could have, they're like watching stuff from like video screens during the autumn equinox. And I'm like, what are you so scared of that you're not there?
Right.
If you're that powerful, right? And now I'm like, well, you were at 65% of power. Someone could have killed you and not known. So for me, that was my beyond the ACOTAR crossover, the biggest revelation.
My biggest thing about that power level thing is why would they ever let it get to 65? Like, how low do they let it get?
Well, that's my thing. Do they not have enough first light to get to 100%?
I guess.
Because they are killing
That's a
people.
question,
Like,
too.
they're killing people off all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, are there enough people? Also, they've never really, beyond like your drop and like dying, there's no reason to go touch the gate again.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you
So-
just are
that's
feeling
true.
silly.
Right. So if you're like, I'm going to go talk to someone in the dead court or the bone court, or I'm going to touch the gate.
Right.
I'm wondering if they're just running out of it.
Well, and Bryce took.
I was going to say, Bryce took all of it
took
from that.
took a lot.
Oh, that's a good point.
A few months
so
prior.
they might be running low.
Maybe that I didn't think about that until just now. Maybe that is why they were
Good
were
job,
so low.
Mindy, man.
Yeah. What was your biggest revelation, Mindy?
Oh, well, this section is called otherwise known as things Mindy had forgotten. So, just like, again, the big reveal at the end. But there's little things throughout that I just know are going to come back into play. Like, I totally had forgotten that Bryce owes the Viper Queen a favor.
Yeah.
We talked about Dragonfire can burn a prince of hell. The Autumn King recognizes the numbers and letters on Sophie's arm. That was like
Yeah,
a
how was that a
throwaway.
thing?
Yeah.
And we never circled back to that.
And then he's just like, I know what that is. Bye. Thanks so much.
I hadn't really forgotten this, but I just remember like the wolf at the Mystic's place being of the Fendir line. That was kind of like, oh, whoa. And then I had forgotten that Regulus was fake Adis.
I had forgotten
Me
that
too.
completely.
Yep.
But then finally, I'd forgotten that Adis was in love with Thea, and that cost them that section of the war. And you talking about, somebody was talking about Regulus wanting to be in Midgard and like bring all those people, but they weren't intending to stay there. They're trapped there.
Right.
When he tells them that story. So when he's talking about Thea and her daughters, this is my bonkers theory. Okay.
Hit us with it.
He says that they closed the gates, that Thea and her daughters closed the gates in their world, Thea and her daughter's world, where they had come from, that his siblings had hidden. So his siblings had hidden these gates in this other world, right? And by doing that, closed all the other gates and essentially cut them off from the cosmos and trapping them in Midgard. So we know Thea's one daughter is Helen, but they never named the other one. This was one of my questions, I think, in one of the other episodes. In Norse mythology, Thea has 3 offspring. Helios, Eos, and Selene.
Ooh.
I think the other daughter is
Selena?
Selena, Aelin,
What?
and she was the one that closed the gates in Throne of Glass,
Oh.
which were the word gates.
You just
and that,
fucking blew my mind.
and that the Valg are the Asteries siblings. Boom.
I've always thought the Valg were
Oh.
related to the Asteria.
Yeah.
But
I
like
have
that
to.
ties it in. Like
Selena,
That's a good.
I hate you so much.
That's a good tie-in.
I just gave myself chills.
Those are the best
That was my
moments.
hand on your leg.
Or in my ear.
That's
Wow,
good,
Mindy.
Mindy.
So
Very nice.
that just, I mean, yeah, that game, like when I started digging in it, because I did not remember that whole speech that he gave. I think
I
I was
didn't
just
either.
so into it the first
Yeah.
time I read it. And there was so much in there, so many little clues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see.
That's a really good theory. I like that
I
a lot.
love that.
No, we'll find out in a few
We
weeks.
shall.
Well, we'll start finding out, I guess.
Yeah.
Just part 1.
Over 3.5 months. friends.
Yeah. Well, my biggest revelation was that whole conversation with Regulus, because I had forgotten all about that. Yeah. I did not remember that he had this Bond villain moment where he explains all these things, and I did not remember that he manipulated Micah in book 1, and that
I'd forgotten about that,
I had
too.
completely forgotten about all of that. And I really loved that reveal that book 1 was because of him, and that gives, I mean, Bryce is already motivated after finding out this information before he starts talking to her, right? She's already motivated to like destroy the Asteri because of the parasites that they are.
Right.
But he gives her so much more like personal motivation because he is the one that had Danica killed, you know? And I had completely forgotten about that. So, hooray. Now it's time to talk about our favorite spicy scene. Which we actually had spicy scene.
I know.
So
several different people.
Yeah,
even
choices.
What's yours, Mindy or Whitney? Since you had so many spicy scenes.
I liked the one when they get home from the Equinox Ball, Hunt and Bryce, and they have
The
relations.
sex.
They have the
relations
sex.
together.
Intercourse.
I liked that. Like, they were kind of drunk and they were in a good mood and things had gone so well for them at the party, and like their relationship was formalized basically, and her engagement to Cormac is over and things were good for that night, you know. And I thought that was really sweet and I really liked it a lot. Sidebar, just a note, I went through and found all of the spicy scenes in this book this week and looked at whose point of view they were in, and almost every single sex scene is from Hunt's point of view. There
That's
are
weird.
like 7, maybe 8, and only 2 of them are from Bryce's point of view.
Maybe it's not that good for Bryce.
Well, I was thinking about what you were talking about last week about how Bryce always seems so like about the bond, and
Yeah.
that has to contribute to it, because we hardly ever see their like intimate connection from her point of view. But she does talk about, I can't remember if it was this section or the section before, but Bryce's point of view is thinking about them having sex again, and after the first time, so I guess it was last section, but she says that it was soul altering and like world altering, and like she couldn't wait to get her hands on him again or something like that. And I'm like, I wonder why SJM chose to not give us her point of view. Like if she's gonna say later on that was soul altering sex, like, well, tell me about it. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a good point.
That's a weird,
that's a
just
really
a weird
good point.
choice, but I feel like that probably contributes.
It might be intentional.
Well, but I'm sure it probably contributes to that feeling of like, well, Bryce just isn't that into it. Like, well, because we don't see
know.
her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is a really good point, because that is what I have struggled with this series, is like, it talks about how they can smell their mating bond. Like, there are very obvious things that, like, yes, they are mates, but I don't find it as believable as the other 2 series. I struggle.
And I don't know, that might be part of it, but I just think that's kind of strange, especially because the other 2 series, our other main female characters, they are the point of view that we get for almost every single sex scene. In Silver Flames, we get some Cassian, but like we see Feyre's point of view almost exclusively. And now like we hardly see any of Bryce's, which is just really weird.
Maybe SJM thinks she's a bad lay.
She would never.
Maybe she just lays there.
I was gonna say, maybe she doesn't have any thoughts.
Yeah.
Maybe she's like A, B, C, D.
Passing the time. What was your all's favorite spicy scene?
Mine was Rune and Day. That was some sexy shit.
Yep. That was some sexy shit.
I enjoy Rune and
that's
Day
all
as
I have
well.
to say about that. Really, it was. I mean, and it wasn't even like technically bodily contact. I don't know. There was something about that, the way it was described, and I mean, it was Rune, so that's double sexy right there.
Reese and Feyre had sex in their mind connection.
That's true.
Why
Why don't we get to have sex in our mind connection? I feel gypped. It's less sticky.
Truth.
Like, you don't have to clean up afterwards. You don't have to worry about anybody hearing you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
My husband produces this podcast. I would like a sex mind connection. No pressure.
Make it happen.
He would say, I'll get right on that.
Knowing my husband, he'll make it happen. Mine was Rune Dan and knew 3 things with absolute certainty.
From the whole book.
No, I know that was last week.
Okay.
But I'm still horny from reading it.
That was 2 weeks ago.
No. I'm still horny from reading it 2 years ago. But in all seriousness, who doesn't want to have a hot dude go down on them in a library? I'm here for it. That's where he goes down on Bryce.
Yeah.
Hunt.
That was my other one.
Yeah. So, but seriously, chapter 3 of this book takes all the other spicy scenes. They do nothing for me because
It sets the bar high.
It does.
letting a chick sit on your face and then being so drunk you wake up and you're still doing it well. I'm here for it. Rune, Dannon, Faye, Valbarian Prince or whatever.
Is he your chapter MVP? Or maybe is his
No,
mouth?
he's
Is his
not.
mouth your chapter MVP?
No, but he should have been. My chapter MVP is the Hind.
Me too.
So I wonder if it's for all the same reasons. She supports Rune and the rebellion through the Mind Bridge. Mm-hmm. She kills the mega bitch, the Harpy. Mm-hmm. She helps free Bryce from the Asteri dungeons by not actually like shackling her manacles. And she stays with Pollux even though he brutalizes her so that she can keep feeding information to the rebellion. She is such a strong character and really kind of like the misunderstood villain. And you learn so much about her in this book, and like high fives for the Hind everywhere.
Yeah.
Why was she yours?
She was my MVP too. My two biggest reasons. One is that she's the reason Bryce is able to escape to get help, right? Which is extremely important for the story, important for moving on in the series, but also because she's a double agent and she lives in danger every single day to be the double agent. And she is so close to the Asteri, the balancing act. It makes me think, spoiler alert, it makes me think of Snape and Harry Potter, right? Like when you get that same kind of reveal that he's been a double agent this whole time and he has been in danger and has been treated so horribly by the good guys because everybody thinks that he's a villain, right? She's in that exact same situation, and I wrote, she is the bravest person we've ever seen.
She really is.
I mean, truly.
She gets sexually assaulted almost every day.
Yep.
And the whole Asteri movement, they could give two fucks about her. If she died, they would just replace her.
They would find somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, she is nothing, honestly, to no one except for Rune.
Yeah.
Right? And that's honestly until he figures out who she is, and he kind of drops her at the end of this.
I know. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's a rough moment.
Who's your MVP?
I feel like I should change mine now because I totally agree with everything you all said.
Well, there's a lot of strong people in this book.
But I picked Bryce this time. I think just all the stuff she does, even just in this section. She saves Emil.
Yeah.
She's the only one that cares about him, truly. She outsmarts the Autumn King at that engagement party when she declares her and Hunt mates. Like, that takes balls. She figures out a way to get reinforcements to Erd's temple to help fight those rebels. So when they're stuck in there, when the Underking sold him out to Pippa, she figures out how to like travel and get
Can I just
everybody
say,
to help.
I feel like Pippa, she could have been named anything.
I know.
I feel like,
Just so you know, I picture her with braids that are like stuck out to the side.
like, she is an important character, but she, like, I have no feelings towards her at all.
Me either.
And when I got to the end of reading this week, I'm like, she could have been named Helen or Bob, and it wouldn't have mattered to me. Yeah, and normally SJM's villains have more like
or
layers.
some kind of etymology to their name,
right? And so as I'm reading it, I'm like, I don't care about this person except for that she's bad, I guess.
I think she was just a plot device for Emil, honestly.
But SJM doesn't normally do that, and so it felt very like
it felt off.
Yeah, that's true.
A little bit. Anyway, so Bryce. I also thought it was funny that she has to throw down with Lydia to quote make it look real. She like totally enjoyed that. Yeah. And then ultimately she sacrifices everything just to try to get to the Princes of Hell.
Yeah.
In hell to help out.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Bryce.
Yeah.
She's a good heroine.
She is. But really, like, when you think about it, those two together are really what got them to where they are.
Mm-hmm. That's 100% true. Who did you all choose for your favorite secondary character?
I chose Flynn.
Oh,
Flynn,
why?
you love him.
I just think he's funny. He's just so goofy, but he's totally loyal. I love that the fire sprites are so enamored with him. And then SJM keeps making it seem like they're his groupies or something.
They do.
Like, it's, I don't know, in a section that's so heavy with all these revelations and all this like mind-blowing stuff and bad things happening, I like that Flynn offers some comic relief.
He is fun to read. He's always, when he is in the chapter, he's going to say something silly that's going to make me giggle.
Yeah.
100%. Mine is Baxian, and you kind of hit on this, but he's been helping Bryce through Danica for 2 years, and she didn't even know it. And I like to think that he was a solid foundation for Danica when she was in a position that she couldn't really trust anyone with the information that she had. And so I really love that he's been like this quote unquote horrible character, just like Lydia, right?
Right.
And working on the back end. And I'm excited to see where that goes in book 3.
Sidebar about Baxian. I saw this on TikTok and I was like, oh my gosh, because I'd never thought about it before. But somebody on TikTok pointed out Baxian was at the summit or whatever in book 1.
Yeah.
And he would have heard his mate's voice for the first time since she died.
Oh,
I know.
you know what?
Exactly.
Bookstagram, and we do this shit too. I'm like, why are we always ripping each other's hearts out?
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, because I wouldn't have thought
And he
about
would
that.
have had to have like stayed straight face.
Yeah, he would have had to not react at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that horrible?
Yes, it is.
Poor Baxian.
Thanks for telling us.
You're welcome. If I have to know it, so do you. I actually picked for my favorite secondary character, I picked Cormac because he puts his money where his mouth is with this like rebel cause, right?
Yeah.
He says that he would yield his life and he does. And I really like his character a lot. I think that he is the Eris of this series. Eris from ACOTAR.
Yeah, I can see that.
He is the kind of crappy douche with a really horrible father, like the really bad upbringing who could have been so much more. He still has some good in him and the potential to be even better. And he just chooses to make that ultimate sacrifice to help everybody else.
I do remember the first time I read this being so sad when he died.
Yeah, me
because
too.
you really hate him at the beginning, and the author really made you start to understand him more, and that he really didn't want to do the shit he was doing either. He was being forced just as much as everyone else is.
Right. Well, and he and Rune have that nice conversation where he's like, we're both going to be in charge eventually. So like, let's work together and we can, we can be friends and we can do this together. And he's like, yeah, okay.
Why can't
not really.
friends?
Yeah, I know.
It's just
that does make that a little more sad.
It is. Yeah. What about your favorite quote? I only have 3.
Why don't you go first?
Yeah.
Well, one is from Flynn when he tells Ethan, "We got you, Wolf. Like, we're your team, we're your friends." I really
loved
liked
that for a moment.
I thought that was really sweet. Rune, at the end, when he's saying goodbye to Bryce, he says, "You brought so much joy into my life, Bryce." It made me cry. It made me cry. It's just so sweet, especially because I can't forget that they had been fighting for so long and this reconciliation is pretty new,
Right.
And he thinks that he's saying goodbye to her and had missed out on all this time at this point, and it's just and then
What was it? That is not what you think it sounds like.
The last favorite quote is from Lydia as Agent Daybright. She says to Rune, "So your father doesn't like you. You're not the only one. So your father beat you and burned you. So did mine." And there's things like that really tell you a lot about her backstory, even though we don't really know very much about her backstory, which I'm going to go ahead and say leads me to one of my questions. This is really a question going into book 3. Not really a question to be answered at this moment, but I want to keep it at the forefront of my mind. Why did SJM make Lydia's background so rough? That is a question that I want to think about reading book 3 and discuss at a later date. So
Okay.
those are my quotes and also my questions.
That is a really interesting question. I will say that trauma survivors understand trauma survivors, and Rune has been in trauma since the day he was born.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's why.
There's a lot of different trauma in her life, though. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it
She's
later.
like, we'll get to it in the next 10 episodes.
We'll get to it. What about you guys with your quotes? Favorite quotes?
Mine was Team Fuck You.
I love that too.
I just want to be on a team named that, and I want to work with people that are like that, where we're like, we're going to get shit done, and we're going to carry on, and we're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
I love that.
I had forgotten how late in the book that happened.
Yeah, I know.
I have remembered that from fan art especially, but I thought that it was earlier.
And her name has changed on Instagram, but artworks by Zoe Holland. She did some really cute Team Fuck You stuff.
Yeah.
Where it was, I wonder if that's what you're thinking of, where it was like a neon sign
Yes,
behind them.
that's exactly what I'm thinking
Yeah,
of,
she
yeah.
did a really good job with those.
Nice.
What's yours, Mindy?
I have 3 also. They're very short. 2 are kind of funny and the one serious. I just love when Bryce says to Hunt, "You can have your alpha hole fit later." It's just so Bryce. And then I loved it when Ethan says to Hypaxia, because it's about Flynn, "I'm sure Flynn and his backup singers will be happy to protect you." And then finally, I loved it when they're sort of planning on, when Bryce is kind of arguing with Hunt, like, I don't really want you to go. And he's like, I don't really want you to go either. And they're kind of talking about what they're going to do. And he says to her, I want a future with you. That's why I'm going. I'm going to fight for that future. And to do so, we can't play by other people's rules.
Sweet baby
people
Hunt.
that are making change, that's case
what you
in
do.
all of it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, I already shared my questions going into book 3 about Lydia's
I have a lot.
background and
I
also
have 6.
why the epilogue is is my other question.
I feel like this episode should be named "We Have a Lot of Questions." Like, I feel like, and then we had to wait 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah.
18
Well, I
months.
haven't read it yet either, so I'm still waiting.
So I read it very quickly. So I'm sure, just like with this, I'll be like, oh. Because I was really excited. And Whitney read it in 24 hours. So
Yes, I did.
have you read it a second time since then?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So my questions are, what are the princes of hell up to? Mm-hmm. They seem to be moving the chessboard behind the scenes, and we learned in this that they may not actually be the bad guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, why does everyone want to live at Rune's house when it's essentially described as a frat?
And it's disgusting.
Right.
Like, stuff on the floors. and all-
Ethan wants to move in there. Therion wants to move in there. I'm
Yeah.
like, do you guys not want to just like get an apartment together? Like, I don't understand this.
Right. Maybe
Yeah.
nicer, maybe cleaner.
Right. So my question, same with you, Whitney, is like, what's up with this new wolf? Why is that such a big deal? Why would we end the book on that? My fourth question is, what does it mean when it said Hunt's scent is wrong and doesn't smell like any angel that Mordok has ever met?
Yeah, that's a
That
big question.
really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And then my final one was, why does the Autumn King want Bryce to go to Avallen so badly? We keep hearing about this island that has never really been brought up in the books at all so far.
Right.
And it comes up like 3 times in this book.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to do some, I wanted to do that as one of my nerdiest vocabularies.
Ooh.
And I didn't find like a whole lot, but I did find some connections. And I have to give credit to Palindrome Flower on Reddit, because I stumbled on this when I was looking for ties
Yeah.
to Avallen.
Thanks, Palindrome
Yes,
Flower.
thank you so much. So we start out that we don't, like you said, we don't get a lot of info about Avallen, but it does sound very much like the word Avalon.
Right.
So Avalon features heavily in Arthurian legend, being where King Arthur's sword, Excalibur, was made. And Excalibur was the sword that he had to pull out of a stone to prove his lineage.
Didn't Rune have to pull the
Star sword into it?
Yeah.
So there's that. Then there's someone else who is also connected to Excalibur. She is the Lady of the Lake, who was married to a man named Peleus.
Ooh.
So one of my questions was, why don't we know the name of the River Queen's daughter? Like, why did they...
Or the River Queen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my unhinged theory then is that could she be Thea reincarnated? So guess who ruled over Avalon? This person named Morgan Le Fay. So Le Fay in French means the fairy.
Ooh.
So it's Morgan the fairy. And Morgan is sometimes connected with the Irish goddess of strife, a.k.a. the Morrigan. What the fuck?
Oh, man.
All right, it goes on. The Morrigan is listed as a descendant of the Tuatha de Danann, which is a supernatural race in Irish mythology. So
Oh.
connections out the yin yang here.
I could say out the ass.
Out the yin yang.
And then finally, one more to make you go, Rune and Reese are often speculated to be related somehow, as their powers are similar and then they look similar.
Right.
Yeah.
Neither of them look like their cousins, however, Cormac and Moore, who both happen to be blonde and brown-eyed.
Oh, yeah.
We know Moore has truth-seeking powers, and Cormac seems to be preoccupied with people telling the truth and like really wanting to like make sure that that's revealed. So I don't know, that one like when you're thinking about Avallen and like Moore's, I tried to look up like Moore's estate name and see if that was connected to Avallen anyway, and it wasn't.
I feel like Moore is our character that people are still like, what is she there for?
Yes, like
besides being like a good character, she is a good character, but like what is?
But we
her
don't know.
role?
We don't know nearly as much about her as I think we could or should. But I feel like we need a soundbite here, like something that says Mindy's food for thought.
How's that?
Yeah. That's how I feel about Avallen.
Those are very interesting.
Yeah,
points.
and
Lots
again,
of good
shout out to
connections
Palindrome Flower on Reddit because most of
Palindrome Flower
came from that person.
Nice.
But I do have a couple other questions. We've gone over a lot of them actually. What the hell does it mean when Apollyon says to Bryce that they are in a dream world, or what she considers to be dreams? Like
that is a great question.
Sus. Like what are we talking about? Also, what does the Underking know Jessica by? He says something like, I knew her by something else.
Yeah, I clocked that too.
Well, and you know, Jessica is like ancient, like Amryn is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've often wondered if they were the same person, but I mean,
What if maybe she just used to be Jessica?
That's what it is for
I
sure.
just wanted to mix it up.
Or maybe she's Amryn's mom. I mean, who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then finally, my final question is, what does AE mean for the dates in the desk room?
Yeah.
It's after something.
After
Oh.
somebody? I
thought
don't know.
the A stood for Asteri.
Oh, maybe it does.
Well, it's like BC 1000.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's like
Christ,
dating.
right?
So that's why I thought after.
It was in their room, right?
That was in
the archives.
That was in the desk room. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I assumed the A stood for Asteri.
But I don't know. When I was reading through it the second time, I feel like that got mentioned a couple of times, actually. She's like, I don't know what their dating system is. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So that one.
After emancipation.
After ejaculation?
Oh, my.
That's my favorite part.
Well, thank you, Mindy, for all that food for thought, especially that last one there. Do we want to talk about what we liked most about the book? Or do we want to go straight into Fancast?
I mean, I think what I liked most about the book was just the shock ending.
That's what I said too. Yeah,
it definitely made it a 5-star instead of a 4-star, and that's one of the things I'm most looking forward to. Is how is the Akatar and the Crescent City world going to be mixed together?
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing them all hang out, like Bryce and the Inner Circle, and how they interact.
How it goes.
I mean, so it'll be June, in 6 weeks or so. And even 2 years later, people every day are posting on Facebook and Instagram, oh my God, I just read Crescent City 2 and my mind is blown. I mean, she really did create a culture where people are like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Right. And we all saw the signs, but we were like, well, that's interesting how that like plugs in. But then she was like, well, here it is.
Yeah.
Microphone drop.
Yeah.
And then you won't hear from me for 18 months.
Or maybe more.
But we talked in our episode on Tuesday about why maybe she doesn't get on social media all the time.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about Fancast. I'm actually excited. I'm excited and I'm proud of my choices for this Fancast, you guys. We all chose Fancasts for Lydia, Baxian, Cormac, Therian, and Ethan. So let's start with Lydia. Who'd you guys pick?
Go ahead, Min.
So this is someone I think that you picked for someone else.
Me?
It's Samara Weaving.
Yeah, she was
my Lydia too.
Yeah, look at
she
her
was
in
my
this picture.
Danica.
Yeah, she's my Lydia. 100%.
Oh yeah, that's
Nice.
right. She was your Danica.
Yeah.
She's got that. I don't know.
But they
got
have
that
similar
spark.
personalities.
Yeah.
But she does. She has she can kick ass. She doesn't take shit from anybody. She could play nice and mean.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. You have to have somebody that can do the bitch and also completely change her personality to be softer. And because even her voice is different.
Right.
When she's like, just play along. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah, because Rune actually talks about how it comes out differently.
If you've not seen Ready or Not, I would highly recommend it.
I have not seen it. Maybe I'll watch. Well,
watch it with us. It's more gory murder.
I've been wanting to see.
I thought you went to the theater with me for that.
I didn't see that one. No,
it's so good. We watched it at Craft Weekend. Where have you been?
I
woman?
wasn't at
she
that
was
one.
organizing her stickers.
Touche.
Sorry, I saw that joke opening and I went for it.
Who's your Lydia
I
with?
picked Vanessa Kirby.
Who's she?
She is a British actress. She was in... Well, no, I'm not going to tell you that one. She was in The Crown the first couple of seasons. She's Princess Margaret, like the youngest version. She's just a really good actress. She's done a lot of different types of things. And she has a very good, like, bitch face, but is also on The Crown. She was very good at, like, showing different sides of that personality.
When are you and I going to get hired for our bitch faces? I'm waiting for someone to be like, you can be bitchy and soft. We're going to hire you.
I'm available, guys.
I know. Me too. And here's the thing. We're both really easy to work with. It's just our face.
Yeah.
You just got to get past that exterior.
It's not my personality. It's just my face.
I mean, Mindy and I met doing like a painting project together, and then like 6 months later, bam, she couldn't get rid of me. So
I didn't want to.
Who did you guys pick for Baxian?
So I picture like a very good looking black man. And
Me too.
so
Yes.
I said Michael Ealy.
Oh.
He has bright blue eyes.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's blonde, sometimes he's dark haired, but he's a really beautiful man. He's kind of short and stocky, which is how I picture Baxian too. I don't picture Baxian being as big as Hunt. And so I just thought like all the looks and the swagger, he would be a good Baxian.
He's kind of just like Lydia, where you have to have somebody who can do two opposites of the personality.
Right,
Yeah.
right. What about
Who'd you
you all?
pick, Mindy?
So I picked a man named Kofi Siriboe, and he's on a show that I've never heard of called Queen Sugar. But he is just a fine-looking black man. He's got facial hair, which I don't know why, but I picture Baxian with facial hair.
for sure.
And he kind of goes along with that same. He's like leaner. He doesn't feel like to me like Baxian's like overly muscular. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Seems
he
like
is
a little
muscular.
bit more stocky to me.
Oh, see,
instead of muscular.
I feel like he's muscular but real lean. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, this man is fine.
Good job. Good job.
The first person I thought of for Baxian was Michael B. Jordan.
I actually had him on my short list.
He was on mine too.
Because he could do big and beefy, like how I changed my voice there. He could do big and beefy, or he could be a little leaner, right? Like either way. And he's good at, he can be the villain or he can be more connected to the audience, more personable. So I thought Michael B. Jordan, another fine man. Who did you guys pick for Cormac? I struggled with this one.
I really had trouble with this one too.
So I did too, because I really picture him as being like a strawberry blonde, not like a pure
Oh.
blonde.
I do too.
Because Bryce is a redhead, and I think at some point Cormac is said like to have freckles or something, and like a pure blonde person doesn't have freckles.
Okay, this is a terrible reason, but I feel like Cormac is an Irish name.
Well, yeah.
and so
yeah.
that's why I picture him.
So there is a model, and I actually couldn't figure out if some people called him Scottish, some people called him Canadian, and I think it's just because he has like reddish blonde hair.
Yeah.
But his name is Alex McKenzie, and his younger pictures, he kind of had like a longer hairstyle, and he's real pretty.
Yeah.
Real pretty. Because I picture Cormac as being gorgeous, but very conceited.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
I
you
picture
didn't know
more, not that I don't think he's attractive or anything, but I pictured more somebody that could just one look and you know he's douchey. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
somebody who
yeah.
could play that. I picked an actor named Lucas Till.
What's he
I've
in?
seen him all over the place.
I know. Yeah. He was in the MacGyver TV show recently.
There was
I
a
know.
MacGyver TV show
Yeah. Oh,
recently?
yeah.
On
Yeah.
what network?
I think it was like CBS. It was one of the big ones.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, he's
I watched the one in the 80s with like a paper clip.
Yeah.
And a rubber band, but
no shade to Lucas Till, but
He looks douchey.
he kind of looks douchey, right? Like, yeah, and he's not like an ugly guy or anything,
Yeah.
and he's blonde, so you know, it's on my boxes.
I also picked a model like you, Deb, but I picked a man named Christopher Mason,
oh, he's pretty.
and he is very pretty.
He could be a Cassian.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that sort of like generic Faye look to me. I don't know.
Generic Faye.
So
Like the curved eyebrows, the
yeah,
strong
but
jawline.
he is
Yeah.
very good looking, and he's got that longer hair. It's mostly blonde, but I can see it with a little bit of red in it. Yeah, he's pretty good looking.
Nice. Who'd you guys pick for your Therians?
I wonder if we all said the same thing.
I struggled with this one the most.
I don't think that we said the same thing because
Who'd you
I
say?
picked some really random randos.
Oh, who?
I have two different people that I liked for Therian, and they are both like models. Mark Goldfinger, which is like the best model name
Hello.
ever.
Yeah.
And then Johnny Harrington, which
Also a good
another
name.
yeah, two models.
And are they redheaded or
They
what?
are,
Okay.
yeah. They're just two redheads that are like very handsome and look like they can pull off the like swagger that he needs for that character. So.
Okay, I can't believe that neither of you said this, but season 2 Outlander Sam Hewen.
Oh yeah,
He has long hair.
He's got
he
the
has
hair.
swagger. He's super built. He knows how to talk to women. And plus, it's Sam Hewen.
yeah. I don't know. I just
I don't know. I thought this
He
is gonna
did-
sound bad, but he seems too old to me.
he did come up
Really?
in
Not
my
season 2 now.
I pictured Therian as like 35.
he did come up in my like redhead actors Google search.
Do you all have to, when you're reading a book, do you generally have to picture them as someone?
No.
I have to have a general idea, but I don't picture them as a specific person necessarily. But sometimes I will attach it to somebody.
If it's a main character, I have
legit
to.
Pippa, I picture as Pippi Longstocking. I cannot not do that. So it's
that's
usually something
hilarious.
like that where I like can't get away from something that's actually not accurate.
Now, what happens though, sometimes if you do like I do, where you have to attach them to someone, is like Tamlin is the like prince from Shrek, the
Yeah.
blonde guy
Yeah.
with blonde
Yeah.
hair,
Yeah.
and then the king of Highburn is the Burger King guy.
Yep.
Like I can't picture them
I
as
get that.
anything
yeah,
else.
no, I totally get
Right.
that.
Once it's in my head, I'm done forever.
Huh.
Who is your Therian?
So my
Mindy?
Therian was
It's like me last week.
Fucking moving on.
Well, good.
oh, that whole conversation was hilarious. Oh my goodness. So I picked KJ Appa.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, because after reading this section and realizing what a meathead Therian is, I feel like KJ Appa pulls that off pretty good.
Okay, no offense to KJ Appa. And I say this because, like, when you do a podcast and you're, like, on Bookstagram and you're at book events, like, you could actually meet people. So I'm not saying anything mean.
Yeah.
I'm just taking this off of his, what show was that he was on?
Riverdale.
And I think Therian would do this, too. He looks like he would stick it in your butt and be like, whoops,
Absolutely.
sorry.
Yeah,
now
that's what I'm
that
saying.
I'm in there, I might as well move back and
That's
forth.
what I'm saying. He looks like a douchey meathead.
But just from being on that show, I don't feel like when I see him in other
No,
press stuff, he
no.
looks like that.
Absolutely
So
not.
I don't want to like say anything mean about the actor.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Just
Yeah.
ask first.
I feel you on that one. I feel you on that one. So last but not least, we have our Ethan.
Who's yours, Whit?
I have two because I have one that this is who I thought of first, and then one who I actually think is better. So both of my Ethan options are actual football players. So
Funny.
because
cool.
that's how I picture
I
Ethan.
didn't know
right?
that you knew who football players were.
Well,
I don't.
I'm Swiftie, so I do know some.
Are you picturing a Kelsey?
No.
Oh, okay.
So Joe Burrow was the first one. He's the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals.
I actually know who
Go
that is.
Bengals.
He's like a younger football player, super cute. He's very, very cute. And people, lots of women, simp over him a lot. Like, yeah, I watch football for the plot. And then the plot is Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? Like that kind of TikTok. But then there's this other guy. I'm glad my husband doesn't listen to the Thursday episodes. There's a guy who is going into the NFL who did like the NFL Combine, which is like the tryouts. And his name is Sam Hartman. And this man, first of all, he's basically a child. He's like 22 or 23 or whatever. He has like this full dark beard and this beautiful hair that's like going in the wind. And people were saying how his exercises that he was doing looked like a shampoo commercial.
Oh my
He is
gosh.
just
Oh, I've
so,
seen him.
he is
Yeah,
so cute.
Do
and I'm
you
like,
picture
that is
Ethan
Ethan.
with a beard?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but
I picture him with a baby face.
If he
do
has
too.
a beard, he looks like Sam
Okay,
Hartman.
gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Joe Burrow is more of the baby face.
But I'll say, looking at pictures of Sam Hartman, he needs the beard.
He is a fine man with
Fine.
the beard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway.
So, speaking of baby faces, I picture Ethan as Paul Wesley, who plays Stefan on
yeah.
Vampire
I
Diaries.
can see that.
Can't you see that?
Oh,
And he would be
definitely.
a simp over Bryce. And,
Yeah.
That's
because
a
I
good
don't
one.
picture him as being like huge and beefy.
No.
Right? Like he was into sports or whatever, but like he's past his prime and like still really cute. And, you know, Paul
Yeah,
Wesley
that's a
has
good one.
a nice little bod and, you know, so yeah. And plus, I think Paul Wesley is pretty.
He is pretty.
He's really funny.
Oh, really?
He has a close friends on Instagram, but like every so often, I guess he opens it up to fans, and then he'll do like ask me anythings or whatever. And I see clips of them a lot on TikTok,
that's cool.
and he's really funny.
Really?
He's very, very funny. Yeah,
Which is so funny because he's so serious on Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
yeah. I still
Has he
haven't
been
watched
on
it.
anything else? What the fuck is wrong with you?
What?
You guys both looked at me like, "Excuse me."
I didn't even hear what you
I
said.
still haven't watched Vampire Diaries.
Okay, it's the same thing. I just threw my phone down. This is the same problem as Buffy. Why have you not watched Buffy or the Vampire Diaries?
I haven't been ready to commit
Here's the
to
thing.
a
It is a big
multi-season
commitment.
show.
Here's the thing. You like television and
I
you
do.
like fandoms.
That's true.
Dig in and fucking get to it.
Maybe when my kids get older.
We're just gonna have to capture her on one of our girls' weekends and make her watch it like we did
Like we
Veronica
did
Mars.
Or Outlander.
Or Outlander, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Whenever
true.
she was like, "No, I want to watch the end of season 1," and I'm like, "No, you don't." She's like, "But I do." And then you look at me and you're like, "Why did we watch that?" Like, I think you want to watch this by yourself.
I don't even want to watch it by myself.
Nope, that's an episode I skip every single time.
Yeah, well, now they're like, we wish we hadn't done it like that.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I saw an interview they did about the end of season 5. That was the first season, I think, that Sam and Katrina were executive producers. And he said in an interview that they all had a meeting and they were like, we knew we didn't want to do what we did at the end of season 1 because that was too much.
I think he has said though also that like he did not want to be nude like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was kind of talked into it. And
Of course.
the thing with the end of season, not to get on a tangent, but the end of season 5 is there is rape, but you don't ever actually see anyone's body, which is
Yeah.
honestly
That's
a
true.
little bit more terrifying because you know what's happening. And so your imagination is always worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And so that's interesting that you say that.
But that's a hard left turn from what we were actually
go back
talking
to the
about.
right.
Let's go back to
Not the right.
I was like,
Ethan.
what?
Don't. No. We're on the left all the way.
Ethan.
So I chose an actor named Rudy Pankow, and he is on Outer Banks. Is going nowhere, I guess, in that show. But I don't know. He wears little muscle shirts all the time, and he's cute. He's got blonde tousled hair. And,
No.
I do find Ethan very endearing in my head.
yeah,
Me too.
Like he definitely has boyish charm.
Yeah.
100%.
He's one of my favorite secondary characters. Well, it's been fun, guys.
It's been real and it's been fun.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of our discussion for Crescent City Book 2, House of Sky and Breath. We are going to be moving into Crescent City 3, House of Flame and Shadow, in a couple of weeks. We are going to have 10 episodes going through that 830-something page book. For the first episode, we will be discussing the prologue through chapter 6. So make sure you start reading. Listen over the next couple of weeks. We'll have some fan favorite episodes for you as we work on getting into Crescent City 3, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing or Facebook at facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. Email us at ournerdiestthing@gmail.com.